In the relentless ecosystem of modern Formula One, a world championship lead is treated like an absolute fortress. You compile early victories, you build a massive buffer in the point standings, and you establish a psychological monopoly over the rest of the grid. It forces your rivals into taking desperate, high-risk strategies, right? But a fortress can turn into a prison in a single fraction of a second. Just a few weeks ago, 19-year-old Italian rookie sensation Kimi Antonelli looked completely untouchable. I mean, he was running away with the 2026 driver standings, threatening to execute the most dominant rookie coronation in the history of human motorsport. But the pressures of the apex are unforgiving. Ahead of the legendary Belgian Grand Prix at Spa-Francorchamps, the Mercedes garage has descended into a full, high-stakes civil war. This explainer is the inside story of the mid-season crisis that literally broke Formula One.
Just look at this staggering drop. Antonelli's massive 60-point cushion, it's completely vanished. It's been cut down to a nerve-wracking 25 points after a wave of catastrophic mechanical gremlins. The rookie is bleeding points at an alarming rate. And honestly, the psychological impact of seeing a 60-point buffer more than cut in half in just a few short weeks, well, you just can't overstate that kind of pressure.
And as if the on-track drama wasn't enough, the paddock has just been rocked by a seismic driver market bomb. We're talking reports confirming that Max Verstappen is actively trying to trigger a secret performance clause to escape a dying Red Bull team. The hierarchy of global speed is completely on fire right now. We have vanishing points on one side and exploding contracts on the exact other.
So let's break this down into 3 pillars. Pillar 1, the track war.
To fully comprehend the sheer structural panic inside the Brackley Mercedes camp, we have to look directly at the brutal data footprint left by the last 3 race weekends. Early in the summer, Antonelli was operating like a seasoned veteran, racking up 5 brilliant Grand Prix victories and pushing Mercedes into absolute compliance. But the thin margin of mechanical reliability has ruthlessly corrected the matrix. In Barcelona, a sudden engine failure cost him 18 points. Then, at the British Grand Prix at Silverstone, a catastrophic wheel shield failure robbed the young Italian of a certain victory in front of a record-breaking 564,000 fans. Combined, he's lost a stunning 43 points in just 3 weeks. It's a ruthless reminder that in F1, you are really only as fast as your weakest carbon fiber component.
And the immediate fallout from that is pretty clear. Antonelli is still on top with 179 points, sure, but his own teammate, George Russell, has completely transformed into his biggest existential threat. Russell is sitting right there at 154 points, racking up a Grand Prix win and 2 second-place finishes to close the internal deficit to a really critical margin. The rookie is no longer just managing race pace, he is literally fighting for survival against his own garage.
Plus, it isn't just internal threats they have to worry about. Antonelli has managed just a single podium across the last 3 events, while Ferrari? Well, they've taken 2 victories in the last 3 races. You had Lewis Hamilton winning in Barcelona and Charles Leclerc cruising to a dominant, unchallenged first-place finish at Silverstone. Ferrari has clearly unlocked a highly competitive, high downforce setup, and they are successfully hunting down the silver arrows in real time.
Which brings us to Pillar 2, the boardroom earthquake.
So, while the Mercedes intra-team war is dictating the temperature of the racetrack, a massive administrative shakeup is unfolding behind the scenes. Max Verstappen, the 4-time world champion who once controlled this sport with an iron fist, has completely hit a brick wall. The once mighty Red Bull racing team has collapsed under the heavy demands of the mid-season development cycle. What is the whole paddock buzzing is the specific language of a performance exit clause. Paddock insiders, including Verstappen's own manager, Raymond Vermeulen, have confirmed this highly specific performance-related exit loophole. Basically, it allows him to break his commitment to Red Bull for 2027 if he isn't sitting inside the top 2 of the driver standings by the summer break. And Verstappen is aggressively leveraging this as a bargaining tool, completely shifting the balance of power.
Let's trace exactly how we got to this boiling point. Verstappen's season was completely derailed by a super dangerous rear wing failure at Silverstone that forced a premature DNF. Because of that crash, he currently sits down in an embarrassing 7th place with just 76 points. This means he has been mathematically eliminated from reaching the top 2 threshold by the summer break. That clause is no longer theoretical, guys. The window officially opens after Hungary. Red Bull isn't just racing for points anymore. They are racing to keep Max Verstappen.
So, the million-dollar question, where does he go? This brings us to what we're calling the transfer triangle. On the surface, McLaren CEO Zak Brown insists that Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri have their names engraved on their seats with long-term deals.
But the reality? The telemetry of the driver market points in a totally different direction. Verstappen is reportedly in advanced talks with the Woking squad, and his longtime, highly trusted race engineer Gianpiero Lambiase is already confirmed to be joining McLaren. In F1, when a driver's closest engineer moves, you absolutely have to pay attention.
Which brings us to the rumor that just will not die, the swap theory. The paddock is completely buzzing with the elegant solution of swapping Verstappen to McLaren and sending Oscar Piastri, who happens to be managed by Mark Webber, a man with deep Red Bull ties, straight over to Milton Keynes. Both camps are desperately playing down the narrative in front of the microphones, but make no mistake about it, the contract war is entirely real.
All right, moving on to Pillar 3, the machine at Spa.
Let's step out of the boardroom and get back onto the asphalt. We are transitioning from political maneuvering to a looming technical crucible, because the upcoming Belgian Grand Prix at Spa-Francorchamps is poised to break these 2026 cars completely. To understand why, we need to understand a term called superclipping. This is arguably the biggest weakness of the new 2026 power units. See, when a car is on a massive straight and the battery drains, the control electronics completely cut the electrical assistance. You're suddenly left with just the internal combustion engine. The car doesn't necessarily slow down, but it abruptly stops accelerating. It's like it essentially hits an invisible aerodynamic wall.
Now, how this affects the cars varies drastically track by track. At Silverstone, the fast, sweeping corners like Copse actually disguised the speed drop. The cars were naturally decelerating for the turns anyway, so the superclipping was effectively masked. But then we have Spa. You have a massive 1.5-kilometer flat-out run from Les Sources through Eau Rouge and all the way up the Kemmel Straight to Les Combes. There are absolutely no corners to hide behind. The sudden lack of electrical deployment is going to be brutally exposed for everyone to see.
If you want to know just how serious this is, listen to Fernando Alonso. He stated bluntly that without electrical deployment, these 2026 cars have significantly less power than last season and, wait for it, even less power than a Formula 2 car. Just imagine a Formula 1 car crawling up the Kemmel Straight with less horsepower than the junior categories. It's going to be a shocking visual for the fans and an absolute nightmare in the cockpit.
To try and combat this, the FIA is actually raising the limit of recovered energy to 8 megajoules per lap for Spa. But there is a massive catch here. Spa-Francorchamps is a very long, flowing circuit that desperately lacks the heavy braking, slow-speed corners necessary to actually recharge the battery. So you might be allowed to use 8 megajoules, but finding the braking zones to actually harvest that energy, that's going to be an engineering nightmare. Drivers will literally have to strategically sacrifice entire sectors just to have enough power to defend on the straights.
Which brings us to our final thought for this explainer. Between Antonelli's vanishing championship points, a literal Mercedes civil war, Max Verstappen's explosive contract negotiations, and a track at Spa that is custom-built to break the 2026 engines, who will actually survive this ultimate mid-season crucible? The pressure on these drivers and engineers right now is just unfathomable. So, what do you think? Who cracks and who conquers?